welcome back to Art Movement LA. I'm sitting here with Robert Turner. He's an artist, a photographer based out of San Diego, California. He's here at the LA Art Show with the Beckrys Gallery. Robert, it's so great of you to be with us here today.
Thanks for inviting me.
Can you tell us a little bit about this, this amazing photography that you do? I'm telling you, it's the most mesmerizing landscapes you'll ever see. The color is so vibrant. I don't know how it's not digitally manipulated.
It isn't, right? I still use film, and I use large format film, a 4x5 inch sheet of film rather than a roll of film. And I use an old-fashioned view camera that really hasn't changed in design since the Civil War. There's a bellows, and you get under a dark cloth, and when you compose the image, you're looking at it upside down and backwards on the ground glass. Right. Then you slide the film holder in and shoot, and then flip it over and shoot one more. So it's a slow process. And the large piece of film enables you to capture tremendous detail. And actually helps with color as well. It captures more shadings of color than a small format camera does.
So how does your process now differ from the process before with the same type of camera?
Well, I'm still shooting film, and it's color film, of course, which has evolved and gotten better. But up until about 8 years ago, I printed from the original piece of film in the enlarger, projecting the image onto photographic paper.
Wow.
About 8 years ago, I started scanning the film. So now I take a digital version of image of that film. And then now I do the darkroom work, lightening and darkening, dodging and burning, and color balance in the computer, and then it goes back onto paper again at the end.
Oh, I see.
So it's slightly better control. But the color that you see really has to be there.
Otherwise,
I don't make it up, right? And
right.
I don't use any filters.
Wow.
I used to be a filmmaker, and as a filmmaker, I used filters all the time.
Oh, definitely.
But what I'm after now is an authentic representation of a remarkable scene that occurs in nature when light, form, and color all come together for maybe just 30 seconds.
Wow.
And I try to be there and capture that.
So do you sometimes wait around all day for the right lighting to come?
I do. I do two things. One is I try to scout ahead and I say, okay, this is a morning shot or this is an evening shot. And then I often do wait for 2 or 3 hours for the light to be just right.
Wow.
But then I also, so that's the patience side of it, but there's also persistence. I go back to the same place, maybe 3 years in a row, 4 years in a row.
To make sure that you caught it the best that it possibly could.
So the conditions, I know there's a shot there, but it didn't come together this time, so I'll go back and do it again.
And looking at your photos, sometimes they're in very remote kind of locations. Do you hike, or are you dropped by a helicopter?
No, I have a pickup truck, and there's a camper shell on the back, and I try to sleep as close to the sunrise picture as possible. But then I often walk in the dark before sunrise, maybe 2 or 3 miles, something like that.
Wow.
I've done a few overnight shoots, but not so many because you're committing so much time for something that might work and it might not work.
Right. Well, the nature of so many of your photographs, they're kind of absorbing because they capture so much of the depth there.
Yes.
How do you decide what you want to photograph?
You know, I think about it ahead of time based on sometimes other people's images or places that I've been. And at a certain time of year, you know that fall color is going to happen with aspens, for instance. Right. So you know there's
there's going to be a color
period
storm.
of time. And I actually call ahead to people who are living locally, and I say, what's happening? If you talk to, most people want you to come, so they tell you it's beautiful, and sometimes it really isn't. So I even get to know UPS drivers and people like that who don't.
They'll be honest.
They don't care if I come.
Right.
So I'll say they drive over a certain mountain road every day, and I say, is the color happening or not?
Right.
And a lot of what I do is I actually follow weather.
Okay.
Because the color that you were talking about often happens after a rain stops. Everything is saturated and it's wet, and the air is very clear.
I see.
And the light is not too harsh. The light is sort of soft, diffuse light. So those moments when a rain stops are perfect, and that's what I try to do. I try to be there. So
Robert does more than just realistic photos. He also does these very abstract kind of prints. How do you go? You said this starts with a camera.
Yes.
And it looks to me like completely a digital composition. So how do you do this?
Yes, they're abstract. They're not representational. The camera is just a tool. It's camera-based art.
Right.
The one that you were looking at earlier that we talked about has these swooshes that go through the frame. Those were created by photographing long exposures of compact fluorescent light bulbs swinging through the frame of the camera.
So
I use a cable release, and I open the shutter I let go of the bulb and it swings through, and then I close it before it comes back again.
So is this all done in a studio type?
Yes, so these are done in a studio.
So you have absolute control over
Yes.
every aspect of
So
it.
the landscape photography is also carefully composed, but
Right.
it's found art. It has to be there, and I have to go find it.
Nature rules.
Yes,
Right.
and the problem there is to isolate a scene. There's too much.
Right.
Right, there's too much going on, so you have to
Definitely.
isolate the image. The other imagery, the abstract stuff, is done at home, and there you're starting with nothing, and you have to create something.
Out of thin air.
But they're all, both genres are dealing with light, color, and form.
Wow. Well, Robert, thank you so much for talking with us today. Robert was extremely interesting. I feel like I learned so much about photography and how film and photography kind of meet together into one person.
Well,
thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks, my pleasure.